In my last video, I talked about having some ghost experiences. Well, I'm just going to evaluate on some of them because I think there's enough. I live right by a cemetery, and I even drew you guys a little picture. Actually, my house is on this side because there's street here. Anyways, you come down the street, and then there's this other street here, and then this is all a cemetery. There's like a chain link fence. I'm always hearing things, seeing things, and I think it's because I live right by a cemetery. And the reason I'm making this video is because just this morning, I was driving to work, and I was on this street right here, and I'm going down, and the cemetery's on my right-hand side, and all of a sudden, I see this, like, orb right in front of me. I just kept going, and I looked back, and I was like, well, you know, my rearview mirror, and I was like, okay, there's nothing there. Weird. It was almost like somebody was shining a flashlight. There was, like, nobody out. It's 5 o'clock in the morning when I was driving to work. Sometimes I hear a scratching on my wall, and I can't describe it, but it's like, I don't know, you just hear scratching, it's like, and then I like listen, and I'm like, okay, I pound on the wall, so I don't know what it is. I say something to try to talk to them or whatever, but nothing ever happened. When I was probably like 10, 11, 12, somewhere around there, I walked into my kitchen. I walked past the kitchen table, and I hit something, like, on my right shoulder, like, I hit it. I said, oh, sorry, but there was nobody there. And my mom was like, who the hell are you talking to? And then I kind of got freaked out. I don't know, it was really weird, and it's like a shadow person. I saw a shadow. Another thing that happened is when we were in Wisconsin one time, we were driving down the road, and if you've never been to the country, the houses aren't next to each other like they are in the city or suburbs, and there's miles in between. We were pulling down the road, we saw this lady, and we thought, okay, whatever, but it was really dark out, and she shouldn't have been walking. I don't know, she's an older lady, she shouldn't have been walking alone at night. There's ditches that kind of, you know, go like over the edge. It's really weird. My mom, being the loving, caring person she is, she said, you know, let's go back out, let's look for her, make sure she's okay. We went back out, we pulled down our path again to go back to the road, because, you know, the house is set back. So we pulled down the path, and we looked to the left, and, you know, nobody there to look for cars or whatever, and look to the right, no cars are coming in, so we pull out, go to the road. So we're driving around for like 10-15 minutes, and we don't see anybody. Finally, my mom's like, forget it, she probably went home. I don't know, maybe somebody picked her up. I'm not worrying about it anymore. It was dark, we're tired, going home. So when we get back to our house, we're pulling back in, and she's standing right by our mailbox, like right there. So my dad's like, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm fine. And so I don't know what that was about. Maybe she was real. I don't know. But that was really scary, and how she wasn't there, and she was nowhere, and then all of a sudden she appeared again. I have no idea. So my best friend died when I was 15. She died of cancer, and she always comes and visits me in my dreams. Especially when she first died. When people first die, they visit me, and I have other stories, you know. Every time somebody close to me dies, I have a dream about them immediately, and it's like I'm talking to them, they're there, we're interacting. So I had a dream about her, and we were talking, and she was saying she was scared and cold, and I remember telling her it'll be okay, and she had on this blanket and hat and stuff, and she was always cold in real life. And she wore, you know, blankets and hats and stuff. Even in the summer, she was freezing all the time. Another one was, this one was probably the most, like, personal, most affected me the most. So when my grandpa was dying, my dad went to the hospital to visit him. He was in like a older person's home, and he wasn't doing well, so they took him to the hospital, and he was in the hospital, and so my dad just went there to visit him that night, and he was supposed to be coming home, and I was like 16 or something at the time, so I stayed home alone, and my mom would be getting home at 10 o'clock, but he should have been home before then. So I'm home alone, and he's calling me, and he's like, I don't think I'll make it home. Grandpa's getting worse, so I'm going to stay here for a while. I'll come home later. So I was like, all right, whatever. So my mom ended up getting off early, and she came home, and we were going to go to the hospital, but my dad's like, there's no point. It was raining so hard that day. It was really bad. So he's like, there's nothing you can do. Just stay home. I was like really freaked out. So I had my mom sleep in my room with me, and I woke up around like 3:30, and I just woke up and I wasn't tired. It was so weird. And I looked at the clock, and I remember seeing this, 3:20 something, and say like 3:28. And immediately I got this feeling of like dread, and I was just like, Grandpa's dead. He's gone. So I was gonna text my dad and say, is Grandpa okay? And whatever. But I didn't. I don't know why. I just couldn't find my phone or something, whatever. I was asleep. So the next morning I get up, and my dad's home, but he's in his bedroom, and he's like shuffling around, just being real like, oh, whatever. And immediately I was like, he's gone, isn't he? And he was just like, yeah. And I broke down crying, and the whole ordeal. So I asked him, I'm like, what time did Grandpa die? And he said 3:28. And my heart was pounding, and I started crying even more. And I was like, Dad, you have to believe me. And whatever, I told him the thing about how I woke up, and he was like, I believe you, like, why wouldn't I believe you? So that was weird. And then, we went through the whole, it takes a few days to, get the funeral ready and all that stuff. And then the day before we were going to bury him, that night to morning, whatever, I was sleeping, and I had a dream that me and my mom were at this place by my house, and we were lost. So we got in a cab, and we're like, can you take us home? And it was raining, and just that. So we get in the cab, and the cab driver keeps like looking over his shoulder and looking at me, and I'm like, what? And he had on a hat and a tie, and like real, like nice looking, like professional. And he wasn't driving a typical taxi car. He was driving this car that is now my dad's car. So I was like, okay, why would we get in this car with this guy? But whatever, it's a dream. So we get to my house, and he wanted to come in, and I was like, no, like, why would you come in my house? So I run in the house, and I tell my dad, this guy wants to get in our house, he's trying to get in, and blah, blah, blah. So all of a sudden, the guy's standing in our front room, and I look at him, and I'm like, Grandpa? And he's like, it's me. And, so then we had, sat down, had coffee, talked, bullshitted, whatever, like we would normally do. And then he was like, all right, I have to go now. And we were like, oh, come on, don't leave us. And, just stuff like that. So then he goes down my back stairs, and there's like 4 locks on my back. I don't know. It's not like we live in a super high crime area, but okay. There's 4 locks on my back, and he was like messing with the locks, and he couldn't get in. He's like, I can never get these damn things open. So I go down there, I'm like, I got it, Grandpa. And I get in and unlock it, and he walks out. And as I'm coming up the back steps again, all of a sudden I turn around, and he's standing in his kitchen, in my kitchen, and his arms are open. He's like, I'm not going anywhere. And then I woke up, and I ran downstairs, and I was like, oh my God, crying again. I'm a big crybaby. Crying my eyes out. I told my dad my dream. He's crying, my mom's crying, everybody's crying. And so yeah, what I didn't know why they were freaked out was because my grandpa used to be a cab driver, and I never knew this before, they told me. So it was like he was telling us, like, so I don't know how to describe it. I feel like he did that so I would tell my dad, and he would know that it was really him in the dream, because it was like only my dad knew that, and my mom, but they knew that. I didn't know that, so how could I make that up? And he wore a tie and everything, so it was really weird. And he wasn't driving a cab car. He was driving the car that my dad bought after he died. So, I don't know. Things like that. I mean, I believe wholeheartedly that the dead walk among us all the time. I mean, you don't know who's real or who's not, especially living right by a cemetery. I see creepy ass things all the time. One time I saw a little boy climbing over the fence from out of the cemetery, and there was nobody around. When I'm saying nobody, I mean I stopped and like looked. I was like, dude, where's this little boy coming from? There was nobody. Just noises, things, you hear footsteps at night, downstairs, not like the floors creaking, like actual footsteps. But yeah, just little things like that. So, I mean, it doesn't even freak me out that much anymore because I've been living with it for how many years have we been in this house? Like 12 years or something. So, I'm 19 now, so I've been living with it for 12 years since I was little, used to it. And I love going to cemeteries and stuff, so yeah, I'll put some pictures in now. So yeah, I just go to cemeteries and hang out, and that one was actually Al Capone's. He's buried where my grandma and grandpa are buried, same grandpa from the dream. So yeah, anyways, I'd love to hear your ghost stories if you have any. So yeah, alright, I'll see you guys later. Bye!